The man accidentally fell from the top floor due to a bird's droppings. His life was almost lost, but he still managed to ogle at girls, and immediately fell into the swimming pool. He thought luck would save his life, only to find his head hitting the bottom of the pool. Even as he was nearing death, he still thought, there are still so many beautiful girls I haven't met yet. How could I die here? Suddenly, a girl in ancient costume appeared in the water and grabbed him to kiss him. Before dying, being kissed by a beautiful, this time, there's no regret either. When the man woke up, his face was covered with white cloth. What kind of eerie hospital is this? He stood up and looked around. He found himself in the room of an ancient maiden, poking a hole in the window with his hand to look outside. There was also a woman dressed in ancient attire. The man stood up, wanting to do some exercises. He then realized his precious belongings were gone, and even his chest muscles were exposed. He hadn't exercised in a long time. The man looked at his hands, looked at his feet, and none of it seemed quite right, so he went into the room, found a mirror, and discovered that he had indeed turned into a woman. Finding it hard to believe, but after several attempts, the reflection in the mirror remained unchanged. This must be a dream, he thought. Even in a dream, women are beautiful like this, he mused, but this woman in particular seems somewhat familiar. Isn't this the woman who saved me from drowning? He wondered, just as a girl burst into the room. She extended her arms, inviting him to rest in her embrace, making this the dream he most desired. Suddenly, a bitter taste filled his mouth. What the hell kind of concoction is this? How can something taste so bad? But dreams don't have such realistic taste sensations. He stepped out of the room to survey his surroundings, only to find a line of people kneeling in the corridor. He tried to stealthily maneuver, but he was still spotted by everyone in the line. In his mind, the man screamed, "This isn't good." He swiftly turned and ran, but this group of people showed no mercy, relentlessly chasing after him, repeatedly calling him "Your Majesty." He sprinted forward, his followers in hot pursuit, realizing escape wasn't easy. Surrounding him were only palaces. What was going on? Is this a period drama? He wondered aloud. Abruptly, he stopped, causing those behind him to collide into each other. He realized the most serious issue of all. After just one sleep, his penis was gone. "Where is my penis?" he exclaimed in panic. Completely bewildered, the man was overcome with terror. "I just slept for a while, and they've castrated me," he realized with horror. Why are they so cruel? Observing that the group of people were all dressed in ancient attire, the man realized he had traveled back in time. He trembled with fear, feeling trapped. Through his servant, he learned that the body's original owner had accidentally fallen into the lake and fainted. So he took a group of people to the lake, then slipped away unnoticed. There was no obstruction from his penis. He sprinted, outdistancing the servants, then leapt into the lake, soaring 3 meters high. Surrounded by hopeful faces and beautiful girls, he thought, "I'm home at last." But he fell abruptly, alarming the servants who cried out "Your Majesty" in fear. In the lake, there was no water at all, just mud. He now resembled a husky, just finished playing in the mud, fuming about the lack of water in the lake. Mama explained that to prevent him from falling into the lake again, they had drained all the water. Her words came just in time. He heard the group of people behind him all calling out. Speechless, he didn't want to be addressed as Mama. So, she walked ahead and revealed the identity of the owner to him. He was the queen consort, not officially wed to the king, leaving him utterly bewildered. Returning to the past, he not only lost his, but also had to become another man's wife. Meanwhile, his future husband was peacefully sitting in the hall, reading a book. Of course, His Majesty was unaware that his future queen had turned into a man. This man was the emperor, absorbed in his reading, diligently keeping the contents of his book hidden. The elderly eunuch noticed his apparent fatigue and concerningly approached him. "Your Majesty, you've been reading for quite some time now." The eunuch expressed concern for his health. The emperor was very displeased, thinking nothing mattered more than studying. Despite the fatigue from reading, as the monarch of a nation, enduring a bit of discomfort was inevitable. At this moment, the queen, covered in mud, rushed in, making the king no longer have the mood to read books. The queen directly addressed the main issue, urging the king to fill the lake with water. Draining the water is the command of the Grand Empress Dowager. Though he is the king, he is also a dutiful grandson. The queen felt as though she was being teased. Slapping him was quite impolite. Why cover one's nose when talking? The king hesitated to lower his arm, but the queen stayed forthright. At that moment, the queen spotted a book on the table, feeling intrigued to open it. The king held back. "These are all precious books. How can we casually share them?" The queen was not satisfied, and the king was unwilling to appear weak either. From ancient times until now, wives have been expected to obey their husbands. Is it the era of Korea now? Truly, it's the era of Korea. "You are the king, aren't you?" I, therefore, am the king as well. The queen feigned releasing her grasp, turning to depart. The king immediately stood up, grabbing the book. While in the struggle, the book was thrown into the air. The queen lifted her head to examine it closely, but the king pulled her back, and they watched as the book fell into the water. Now, the king finally breathed out, sitting back on his throne, ready to ascend to the court. The queen chased after him, but the king, irritated, pushed her away, saying, "Go wherever you want. In this strange world, danger lurks everywhere." The queen concluded she must find a way back to the modern world. Despite her status, the queen pressed her face into the footbath, ignoring her attendants. She remained adamant, and in the blink of an eye, a dozen palace maids surrounded her. They couldn't stop her. She wanted to dunk her head in the fish tank. Why did the queen do that? Turns out, she fell into the water and ended up traveling back to ancient time. So, she thought soaking in water would definitely get her back home. But clearly, it had no effect. Tired and lying on the bed, the queen asked the palace maid's name, unknowingly causing her pain. Following the queen since childhood, why, since the day she fell into the water, did the queen not even remember her name? If she couldn't return to the present momentarily, she wanted to clarify which dynasty this was if she were to live here. But how could the palace maids dare to speak the king's name? Under the manager's oversight, the queen finally discovered her husband's identity. His real name is Lee Won-beom, but based on the changes in the review, he's referred to as the king. This is the puppet king of this dynasty, lacking any real power, spending his days in leisure and indulgence. Most importantly, he is infamous for his lustful nature in history, facing such a beautiful queen. How could he not succumb? A deft dodge by the queen, evading the king's attempt to touch her head. We're all men here, let's not mock each other. You might escape today, but you won't escape another day. Tomorrow is their wedding day. But in the queen's heart, she truly is a man. Of course, she can't accept it. So, she led the king to an empty corridor, preparing to tell him everything. As she hesitated, unsure of what to say, the king extended his hand once again. The queen felt nauseous because she was originally a man inside. Quickly, she revealed the truth to the king. I am actually. Finally reaching a conclusion with the king, the queen is ill, he declared. Quickly, he summoned the royal physician to attend to her. Don't worry. I'll spare no expense to heal you, the king reassured. So, while the queen was suffering, she was taken to see a doctor. The physician took out a pill and administered it to the queen orally. But little did they know, the queen was cunning, and the pill made him bleed from the nose. The physician cried, the queen scolded. Immediately, the pill was inserted into her mouth. The royal physician used steam treatment, so strong that the queen could not open her eyes. About to turn into smoked pork, then resorting to acupuncture therapy afterwards. In the queen's heart, she knew that her body wasn't truly hers anyway. Alright then, as you wish. But the physician thought, deciding to use a larger acupuncture needle instead. This terrified the queen. Quickly, she pretended to recall everything. The physician didn't let it slide easily. He asked her once again, what is his name? Just a physician. Why should I bother remembering your name? The physician swiftly ordered everyone and firmly held the queen in place. If the acupuncture goes wrong, it'll be troublesome. Is he insane? The queen thought as she saw the needle approaching. The queen hastily challenged, dare you pierce me? Tomorrow, I'll be the queen. I'll do is chop off your head. On the second day, the queen was dragged out for makeup before even opening her eyes. The most challenging part remained dressing up. It was scorching hot outside. The palace maids brought her over a dozen outfits. How could she possibly wear all of these? Layers of clothing piled on, suffocating the queen, leaving her gasping for air. At this moment, the emperor had finished dressing, preparing to warmly welcome his delicate queen. A group of palace maids assisted in moving their newly crowned queen, but the maids, who were tidying up the room, found the queen's breastplate. I am the first queen in Korean history not to wear a breastplate. The wedding ceremony commenced. The queen stayed still, prompting a slight kick from her maid. She quickly knelt down, and she performed the ceremony with the king. Her actions astonished everyone. Now, marriage itself was the act of reverence, not just the ceremony. Then the wine cups were brought out. The queen looked straight ahead and took a sip without hesitation. She drank it all in one gulp, frightening her maid, whose hands trembled uncontrollably. At last, the wedding ceremony ended. The queen swiftly ordered the maids to remove her crown, feeling immense strain on her neck. Despite being very tired, the new chamber was beautiful. Yet, there was no time to celebrate. She heard some bad news. She was the one who had to bear children for the king. The queen only now realized she had forgotten about this. She was about to face the most terrifying thing in her 30 years as a man, and the queen had a cunning idea, to make the king drunk. Encountering his rejection again, the queen felt deeply frustrated, deciding to resort to a clever strategy. "I don't believe you won't drink." The queen, seeing him unwavering, started the game of suggesting drinking wine. But despite her tactics, the king remained uninterested in anything. "Drinking like this requires singing and dancing to truly peak. Look at my shoulders, they're trembling already," she teased, pouring a glass of wine into his mouth. Seeing him finally willing to drink, the queen seized the moment to refill the king's glass, ready to toast to his intoxication. The king said nothing, simply began to undress, approaching her. The queen resisted with her hands, but was captured. The king blew out the candle. On the queen's first day in the palace, the king sought concubine. She not only felt no jealousy, she also wanted to court her husband's concubine, because within the queen resided a masculine soul. Only 2 days into he returned to the past, not fully adjusted to this body, but still adept at wooing. But this girl felt as if she were losing her mind, when in reality, she was teasing her. The queen was contemplating how to cheer up the girl when suddenly a palace maid rushed over, whispering something to her. "This is the king's new concubine. She's off limits for flirting, and you fell into the lake and lost your memory. It's likely because of this wicked woman." The queen couldn't believe this, looking so beautiful. How could she be wicked? "It's clear, my treasure, no matter what relationship she has with the owner of this body. When it comes to me, things are different." The queen sought reconciliation, but the concubine ignored her. As she turned to leave, she met the king, and her expression immediately changed. As they showed affection, the queen felt surplus, suddenly jealous and resentful. Why didn't she transmigrate into the king's body instead? She had to transmigrate into a female body. Not being able to flirt with concubines was too frustrating. The look she gave the king was uncomfortable. The concubine's love for the king ran deep, and she suddenly felt jealous of the queen. But she didn't know, the king had an obsession with beauty as legendary as it was, yet so weak. Just a few cups and already drunk. The last queen finally let out a sigh, but to guard against uncertainty, she still fastened her clothes tightly. The king lay sleeping, oblivious to the queen. She had no choice but to lie down on the ground. She tossed and turned, but sleep remained elusive. Tonight would be sleepless. The hard ground reminded her of modern days. She woke up with a stiff neck. She was already being called up. Visiting the Empress Dowager for health wishes. On the first day, the daughter-in-law met her in-laws but couldn't distinguish them. The maid stood by as the queen wished for good health, her head bowed in speculation, choosing someone at random for luck. She truly didn't guess right. Both faces she saw were equally unexpected. The queen immediately realized she had made a mistake and swiftly turned away. The Grand Empress Dowager seemed to defy aging each day. "I'm almost unable to discern the age gap between you and the Empress Dowager anymore." Despite offending the mother-in-law, it pleased the grandmother. The queen let out a quiet sigh, as the grandmother mentioned the topic she least wanted to discuss. "I'm accustomed to childbirth," the Grand Empress said. The queen truly couldn't bear to hear anymore. She was shaken to the core. Interrupted, the Grand Empress realized she had been overly imaginative in her narration. Watching the silent struggle between mother and daughter, the queen foresaw troubled days ahead. And now, bestowing titles upon offspring is more important to her than anything else. With a queen who only knows how to pick the nose, Mala remains the most concerned. Followed the Grand Empress's instructions, ready to teach the queen a lesson. Confident, the queen believed she could learn court etiquette with her hands. But soon enough, she couldn't bear it. There was no leg shaking, no leaning back. She had to tread lightly, like a breeze. The queen gave up, skipping a segment, extinguishing all the candles. She still opted to eat rice. Eating gives more strength than learning etiquette. A leopard can't change its spots. She even had her maid eat. Thanks to the headache, memories from this body emerged. Seeing her frowning, Mama patted her back, thinking she had been poisoned. And she managed to vomit. Now the queen understood the whole situation clearly. The queen truly loved the king, but he married her. Forced by the Empress Dowager, he became a pawn in a political marriage. He thon tat ca, tron long vong hao dot neen vui ve. This time, she didn't worry about him desiring her. While the Empress Dowager was stretching her facial muscles, the queen approached her. She needed to establish a good relationship. She pretended to be obedient, pleasing the Empress Dowager. "Stop!" Seeing her appearing joyful, the queen hinted at filling the pond. But she was declined because the Empress Dowager's granddaughter had nearly drowned in the pond. By rules, concubines should be beheaded, but lately no bloodshed was permitted in the palace, so they were spared. If she wanted to fill the pond with water, then they would have to be beheaded first. The queen laid down conditions for him to find a concubine for the night. The king refused, suspecting her of being an Empress Dowager's spy. He didn't dare to take a risk. In truth, the queen didn't want to sleep with him. Seeing him like that, she had to resort to a cunning plan. The queen took off her robe. "How about this? Hurry up, you'll get caught," she urged. He didn't run. As night fell, she dressed as a man, pretending to investigate the populace. In truth, in the palace for so long, she wanted to go outside. The maidservant prepared while reminding her to return before curfew. The queen, disguised as a man, made her way to the most famous brothel there. Here, an interesting story is about to unfold. The queen wants to eat noodles. She wrapped the noodles around chopsticks and threw them into the frying pan. Because having drunk heavily, she woke up with a headache. So she wanted to eat instant noodles, but at this time, there were none available. Only power remained. The chef received the order and immediately went to work, slicing beef, placing vegetables on top. The queen only glanced, showing no interest in eating. The chef felt humiliated for the first time. He raised the knife again. The queen, angered, threw down her chopsticks. The chef, getting hot-headed, angrily prepared the noodles, making the broth sweet. The queen took a bite and immediately spat it out. The chef vented his anger on the cutting board. The queen kept criticizing the noodles. None of them were satisfactory. "I won't cook anymore." The queen herself went to the palace kitchens to use the iron saucepan. The queen held the knife, smiling. "Before I time traveled, I was a top chef. How dare you look down on me?" The queen said it was her first time cooking. But her vegetable chopping speed was surprisingly fast. She finished in no time. She cut the dough into small strands, then rolled each strand onto chopsticks. She placed them into the frying pan to fry. She used force to crush each handful of spices. Then she strained them to obtain the instant noodle seasoning. The chef wasn't convinced. He believed it wouldn't taste good. He decided to taste the broth of the noodles. It didn't seem bad. He took another bite and immediately liked it. The flavors melded perfectly. The noodles were deliciously chewy, truly mythical. The queen finished a large bowl, slurping up all the broth. "This flavor," she exclaimed. She made the maidservant crave it, showering her with continuous praise. These words brought joy to the queen, prompting her to share her noodles. While enjoying her meal, the king came to visit her. He looked her straight in the eyes. It turned out, the king already knew that she had gone out for drinks yesterday. The king was stunned and left. But what happened? The queen had disguised herself as a man to go to brothel. The mistress knew at a glance that she was a woman. "What are you saying?" "We don't entertain female guests, but seeing a lot of money, she made an exception. There are many beautiful and charming ladies." Inside, she felt delighted. She smiled joyfully, her face adorned with lipstick. She felt unsatisfied, wanting more. "Who can undo my belt?" The mistress outside was extremely terrified. She'd been in the trade for over 20 years but never encountered such a pervert before. The queen, drunk, sought the toilet. She accidentally entered the men's toilet. She realized she couldn't stand to do it. The guy beside her got goosebumps from her stare. "I admire you for having that. I've lost it," she said. "Bye-bye, my dinosaur. Bye-bye, my dinosaur." Due to her sadness, she didn't want to go do it anymore. The queen patted the guy's shoulder. Heartbroken, the queen left. "Just kill me directly." In another room, the king was discussing with his aide. "How do we reclaim power from the Empress Dowager?" Suddenly, the queen, in a drunken stupor, barged in. The curfew bell rang. She hurriedly ran back. Those in the room thought otherwise. Misunderstanding her, the king drew his sword, thinking she was sent by the Empress Dowager. He tore his shirt into a mask, ready for kill her. The queen mistook him for a robber. She took out her purse, but he still raised his sword. She had to take out all her money. The king thought she was stalling for time. "Do you know who I am?" I come from the special forces." She used her hand as a sword, provocatively taunting. The king fell silent. Suddenly, a sword flew in, knocking off the cloth covering the king's face. The man rushed in to help her conceal her identity. The king covered his face with one hand while fighting the man with the other. At that moment, the king's allies arrived to rescue him. The king fled, leaving him to turn towards the queen. He found that she had fainted. From then on, the queen didn't run aimlessly. Now, she had more interesting things to do. The chef was very dissatisfied because she kept wandering around the palace kitchen. He ignored her status as the queen. He believed he was the head of the kitchen. The queen was very displeased. She hinted at competing. A cooking competition began. First up was knife skills. The chef kept julienning carrots, sneaking glances at the queen. He smirked, but the queen's slice was even more beautiful than his. Then he turned on the stove, poured oil, cracked eggs, and added a bit of flour. The queen calmly proceeded, while the chef became flustered. While the chef was decorating, the queen had already finished her seafood hot pot. The battle ended, the chef refusing to concede defeat. He argued that taste was more important. The queen instructed a royal courtier to taste test. The courtier raised the spoon respectfully and tasted a sip of soup, the eyes lighting up. "Delicious!" The courtier praised endlessly. He turned to look at the chef, then immediately stopped. Was he impressed now? "Who are you? Why you can go there? This kid?" The queen found him absurd, so she gave him a stern look. The chef trembled in fear. From then on, she became the head of the palace kitchen. Looking at his subordinates being respectful towards others, he was angry but couldn't do anything. Despite her power, the queen still had to sleep with the king at night. The queen was dissatisfied, and the king couldn't sleep either. The queen recalled Daibu's words about not trusting the king. The king thought again that she was working for the Empress Dowager. Both of them secretly thought they shouldn't sleep. The queen slept, pressing her feet against the king. The queen woke up upon hearing the king's mumbling. She quickly slapped his face to wake him up. The king woke up, mistook the queen for a concubine, and called her by the concubine's name, pulling her into his arms. The queen, furious, kept punching the king until he finally woke up. He thought she was jealous. The queen then told him to get up even though it wasn't yet dawn. The king wanted to sleep more, so they fought over the blanket. With her strength, the queen asserted, "Shut up and go to sleep." Humility is also a good virtue of a king. The queen has the soul of a man inside her. What funny thing will happen in ancient times? The queen, who is supposed to manage the harem, is in the kitchen studying cooking every day. The queen draws out a knife, today to let those old scholars know about the top-level cooking skills. First, take a piece of fresh beef, cut it into standard-sized pieces for preparation. A dedicated golden fish is caught, its fins cut into slices, arranged neatly on the grill. Brush a layer of oil on the fish, sprinkle some salt on top. The first step is completed. The queen carries the grill into the palace, placing it in a clay oven. The fish meat starts sizzling softly. What is needed now is quiet waiting, enduring a night of low-heat baking. The fish is tender inside, crispy outside, and smells delicious. The queen's face gets smudged with soot. Upon waking, she finds the grilled fish ready for the Empress Dowager to taste, but the Empress Dowager is suffering from wisdom tooth pain, so severe that she refuses to eat anything. It's said her daughter-in-law stayed up all night cooking in the kitchen. She politely tries a bite, carefully placing a piece of fish meat into her mouth. What's this flavor? The queen wonders as she awaits a message from the eunuch. The Empress Dowager visits the queen, noticing her serious expression, making the queen worry. Unexpectedly, the Empress Dowager praises her daughter-in-law with a hand on her own. "I doesn't know when was the last time I had such delicious food. This flavor truly moves people, making them extremely happy." Completely victorious, the queen intending to submit it to the Empress Dowager. This makes she feel that the queen is a well-behaved child, curious about this divine food. How did the queen cook it? She oiled the fish and baked it, monitoring the fire all night. The queen assures the Empress Dowager that the dish not only tastes good but also maintains eternal youth. Expressing these sentiments, the queen attributes it to her feelings for the Empress Dowager. Now only one final act remains: I will cook for you every day. With the Empress Dowager's acceptance, they fill the water in the pond, pouring bucket by bucket. So, the order is for them to move forward at a speed of 12, but running too fast. One person stumbling causes the rest to fall as well. It seems that will have to be extended for a few more days. The queen has an idea. Here, bring the water here. Nice. Yet it's so simple. Great. There's a method like this to move water. The people not too exhausting. The speed increased rapidly. In less than 10 days the ditch was full. But she heard so quickly that the news is even more shocking. The Empress Mother wants the Emperor to expand the harem. The assets belong to the two of them, so isn't the Emperor's wife also your wife? Going home is disregarded. What the Empress Mother now cares most about is how many wives she can have. I heard, the Emperor's harem has 6 palaces, 3 consorts, 9 noble consorts, 27 concubines, 81 attendants. She count on the fingers. Then the harem will have 100 more beauties. Passers-by only ask, is this heaven? Let's keep it simple, choose 3 palaces. EIO, that's right, what you said makes sense, fewer is better than none. So what's not to like? The Empress Mother still remembers the delicacies of the queen. Since tasting the queen's craftsmanship, she can't eat trial dishes anymore. This is probably a bit difficult. If you always eats dishes made by me, you can younger than I, it's probably not too good. The Empress's desire is truly full of pressure, so she goes to the kitchen. Decided to make a celestial delicacy that the Empress Dowager has never seen before. Her feet rest on the pedestal, relying on shared expertise to win favor. The deputy eunuch swiftly brings the precious cow's milk into the oven, not a drop left in the jar. Are you kidding me? Just this much won't do. But how precious was cow's milk in ancient times? It took 5 cows to fill a jar of milk. I'm wanting this much milk. If a drop is missing, I'll chop off your head. Using a small silver ladle, wrapping potatoes to look like a ball. This action captures the attention of everyone around. The cooking is ready, but the cow's milk still hasn't arrived. The deputy eunuch brings a clay jar over. Doing well, thanks. The milk is turned into a creamy substance, tasting a bit bland. Adding white sugar, the milk smell immediately rises. The boiled potatoes are poured into the milk, served for decoration 3 minutes later. Exquisitely decorated, adding a bit of seasoning, a portion of potato wrapped in fragrant milk. It's done. The Empress Dowager try the taste of this mashed potatoes. She can't stop eat it. Even the milk in the mouth cannot be wasted, but what's not satisfying is, it's a bit far from the palace, the food has cooled down. And a little cow's milk has spilled. The Empress Dowager feels regretful. The queen also ponders. Returning, she suddenly sensed it, her 20-year mastery of physics. The ideas still race through her mind rapidly. Go to the carpenters. Invent a miraculous tool. Lunchtime. The Empress Dowager are both anxiously waiting, their stomachs grumbling. Finally, the queen's food arrives. All of them are in a palanquin. The food is placed on 2 layers of bronze. The Empress Dowager picks up a plate, takes a bite of the soft yet crispy potato cake. Have cheese strings trailing. This is the taste of the mortal world. The queen, meanwhile, sit, awaiting the Empress Dowager's evaluation. The small palanquin finally come back, opening it to reveal only a few leftover cakes. The Empress Dowager rates this meal with 5 stars. And praises her palanquin. The pleased queen smiles, but she don't know that the concubines begin shine. This man and the concubines are affectionate with each other. That scene they ignore her. Surprisingly, she actively seeks alliances for them. The Empress Dowager holds power and aims to overthrow the dynasty entirely. Using the excuse of the concubines harming her, she coerces them to confess, facing the vengeful concubines' gaze. Feeling all this is the queen's fault. The king pities her, disregarding the blood flowing from his hand. You display affection in front of others, who can endure such a sight? As he's about to take responsibility, the queen interrupts him. She walks past, avoiding the concubines. This brat intends to show off. The beauty must be protected by her, amidst the suspicious gazes of others. The queen claims she intended to sacrifice herself that day. The queen insists on standing out. I am the master here, she asserts, refusing to let the innocent suffer, that provoking the Empress Dowager. Now she stands beside an outsider. Concubines behind faint. Annoying. If she faints, I'll faint too. Whoever cleans up this mess, do it quickly. She see the king approaching. Does he want to carry me? No, he easily sidesteps, gently embracing the concubine. Seeing the queen's palace unattended, Debussy deeply saddening, quickly embracing the beloved queen, exchanging glances with the king. Back at the palace, the queen dared not open her eyes as a group surrounded her. Cry until out of breath, so as not to waste everyone's love. Even in her dreams she dreamed of going home, happily running to the lake. But something stopped her. It was actually the queen mother. You cannot go home. What? I gave the order to you. Takes over the body of her, forever living until death. Woke up from the nightmare, the first thing she wanted to do was kill herself. The mates pulled her leg, preventing the queen from moving forward. She doesn't know, only by jumping into the lake can the queen travel back to modern. Called everyone nearby to help, but no one dared to touch the queen's body. The two of them pulled the queen back together. Cried and didn't want her to jump. The two of them pulled her leg while pushing her down. She not have any reaction. The queen gave up. I don't go anymore, stay away. Looking around, target at a little eunuch. His height, no different from me. So the queen sat by the lake. The little eunuch went into the lake, tried the water, but he went to the middle. The water only reached his waist. Is in trouble. The Empress Dowager suddenly called her again, make her angry. That the Empress Dowager wants to place her in the harem. The queen just thought that was not good. She can only temporarily obey. She say that will become a proper queen, being the most loyal follower of her. She quickly realized that the most threatening prime minister. She returned to the palace, sat in the corner and mumbled. The world of women is too scary, a simple man like him can't stand it. All of this is to blame for the husband. While speaking to the king, he appeared behind her. The queen is angry and has no place to vent. He came at the right time. Her whole face was sad and unhappy. Even her mother wants to abolish her. Her life is miserable. His eyes widened, and the queen mocked him again. Are you happy lately? Now you can let the person you love become queen. The king reached out to comfort her, but the queen avoided him. She pushed him out of the room. Still angry, he pulled the needle down from her head. As the queen fell into despair, the heavens sent a timely rain. The queen danced gleefully in the rain. But that was seen by the king. She has successfully captured his attention. She was very happy. She can go home. The king offered her an umbrella. Sorry for the misunderstanding. The queen urging him to leave quickly. The king, annoyed, took the opportunity to argue with her. Just as he was about to leave, he turned back and handed her the umbrella. The king left. The queen danced again in the rain. Thunder scares everyone. While everyone was sleeping soundly. Sneaking out of the palace, she noticed the exhaustion on her servants' faces, feeling guilty. You must buy land in Jiangnan for future generations. The palace is too taxing. Reaching the lake, she gazed at the abundant water. Finally, she can come home. Everything was prepared. She took a deep breath, gathered her resolve, and leaped. But nothing happened. Where had it all gone wrong? She struggled to swim upwards, realizing her strength waning as she sank. This attempt seemed futile. The man rushed to save his wife, but she resisted. Even in her unconscious state, resistance prevailed as she neared unconsciousness. But the queen pushed him away, followed by accusations. Enraged, the king questioned her recklessness, unaware of its impact on her modern world return plan. The queen, equally furious, stormed off, ignoring the king's pleas, heading straight for the lake, heedless of his warnings. Seeing her determined, the king tried to calm her, but the queen remained agitated. The servants intervened, disrupting their confrontation and escorting the queen back to the palace. The king picked up her brooch, his heart heavy, as the queen returned to her chambers alone. Realizing the gravity of her actions, she trembled. If not for the king's rescue, she might have perished. Why couldn't she return to her time? The maids tended to her, asking why she had ventured to the lake at dawn, their concern palpable. She could only explain they were simply exploring the waters, unable to fathom their inability to return. How could this be? How could they not return? Thus, she pondered from the perspective of a body's master, living in a feudal society. Suddenly experiencing the joys of modern life, she definitely didn't want to go back. She was now leaving home and running away. Was there anyone in the palace skilled in magic or spells? Dealing with such things was impossible, but some people would still do it if there was really someone like that in the palace. The queen went to see her mother-in-law. As soon as she opened her mouth, she asked if she knew any magic. Could she have known that? The queen laughed sincerely. The empress felt that she was not kind-hearted. She must want to grasp her weaknesses. The queen looked at the table nearby. What was placed here? The empress quickly used her expression. Misunderstood, this was not the place for such things. This was where she cultivated my character, so that was it. The queen could only disappointingly return to the palace. How the original owner was in modern times. But suddenly she realized a serious problem. This woman didn't use her body for trivial things. If she was a female soul, she would surely be interested in men. If something strange was done with his body, how could he face people when he returned to modern times? Thinking of this, the queen became furious. Lightly stabbing herself, screaming in pain. She even performed magic herself, but it still had no effect. He received a gift from the king instead, along with a small piece of paper, making the queen feel cold. All these were done by men. What a pity. Suddenly she sang a little. It seemed like jumping into the lake caught wind and cold. Come here, let me clean it for you. I've grown up. What is this? On this side, the king also sneezed. Seeing that the king also wind and cold. It's not a cold, it's a cold. Even so, he still has to be on time. Received some unpleasant news, the ministers united and wanted to depose the queen. He disagreed, and the royal ancestors of the Kim family were also very dissatisfied. Who dared to touch our daughter-in-law? The queen lived a life of luxury where her every need was met without her having to lift a finger. She wasn't happy though the air here was clean and cold, free from the pollution of modern cities. No worry about food, but she longed for the delicacies of modern life. Tears began to well up, unexpectedly feeling more sorrowful than ever before. Debussy came to find her, intending to discuss the empress's affairs. The king also arrived, meeting him with narrowed eyes, saying that the king's coldness towards his wife was too severe. The queen unhappy. She knew about the waste. The queen's eyes widened, wanting to live here in peace. How could this happen? Suddenly she sneezed. Sneezed? Like you, eh? He took the opportunity to kneel down. Return the brooch, confess your love to her, ask her for a chance. He would surely protect her well, if he had such intentions. She hesitated to continue to show her feelings, so she agreed to continue living peacefully together. From today is the first day we promise to live in peace together. Don't say such words. She heard it as if it were about the anniversary of love, feeling unbearable, fearing her own deviation, but the king did not feel anything wrong. The palace can call for delivery. The shippers are all handsome young men. If not looking handsome enough, then exclude them. Calling in a few more handsome boys. Is the seeker truly just a shipper? Quickly, handsome youngs who have just taken office appear everywhere in the royal palace, whether delivering meals, chatting oddly with palace maids, or spreading news of the queen's heroics. They avoid direct confrontation with her. The news spreads rapidly, portraying the queen as the nation's heroine. It turns out the queen mother feared being trapped in the palace. But as the news spreads, it becomes more distorted. But if her words are indeed lies, the queen dowager risks saving the concubine with intentions of kill her. The rumor quickly reached the dowager. She cannot ignore them. Once seen as a witch, now hailed as a hero, she effortlessly shifts perceptions. Now everyone says you're a wicked woman. The king noted her timely arrival as her father brought someone to depose the empress. The queen is our savior, we cannot forget her kindness. You quickly instructed her father to withdraw. The courtiers readily agreed. I'll agree if he comes to my chamber tonight. The king agreed, and the concubine immediately went to find the queen. The attendant then informed the queen that the king had already fallen asleep. The queen suddenly appeared and opened the door. She enthusiastically invited her into the room. She then barred anyone else from entering the room. The queen happily sat down, only to notice the concubine sitting far away from her. The queen moved closer. But when looking into her eyes, seemed very cold and indifferent. The queen immediately offered an explanation. I don't like the king, I just like you. Let's sleep, no, bathe together tonight. Tonight I have to overnight with the king. Why? What? I am deeply saddened by this. The concubine is extremely pleased. The queen just wanted to get acquainted with her, but she only wanted to palace fight. The queen felt humiliated. Wishing both of you happiness. The concubine thinks she has won, so she leave. Just back, already bathed, changed clothes, ready for the night. The queen is here, diligently fixing the banner. But her craftsmanship isn't quite up to par. The assistant steward brought in a basket of flowers. Who could have sent them? It's the king. He said it's an anniversary gift. The queen smashed it and threw it into the fireplace. You stole my woman, and now you're mocking me? I'm truly discontent. She has even grander ambitions. She intends to become as great as Edison. She faints while pondering. The palace chef approaches and realizes she's not breathing. At this moment, in modern times, he woke up, seeing the doctor. So it turns out it's been a week in modern times. He could see, think, but couldn't control his body. He couldn't move and say anything. In ancient times, the king was trying to wake the queen up. The royal physician arrived to check and found that the queen had died. No breath, no pulse, just a lifeless body. Trying to revive her might still save her. The king hugged the queen, took her back to the room. The imperial physician took out the steel needle. They proceeded with acupuncture. Surprisingly, the queen truly regained consciousness. King, why are you here? He took her back to her mother's house for recuperation. The first time returning home, how would it be? She discovers there is a treasure chest in her house. So much gold indeed, it looks dazzling. Her family prepares a very simple breakfast. But there are 18 dishes, including nutrient-rich tortoise soup. Waking up this morning, she realizes she's still in the Joseon. But it's better than being a vegetable in modern times. The queen felt a bit tied up in the room, so she sat up and looked, discovered that the entire room was shining with golden light. This clearly isn't the royal court. While they were talking, her father approached. He kept asking about her condition. She gave her father all the medicine in the bowl. This is the first time she's talking to her father. She turns around, want to run out of the house, only to be stopped by her father's ceremonial gestures. She feels embarrassed and quickly moves to the side. She awkwardly receives a bow from her father. Her father finally stops after her continuous persuasions. Two of them sit down. Her father looks around and said that the decorations are rather simple, not befitting my daughter. When you return, it will come to life more." He happily mentioned that he had prepared the best men for her. A group of men lined up outside the room. "So they're here to treat her squint eye. Today they've all come to treat her illness. All because her mother's house is too wealthy. Her house even has luxurious jewelry rooms. And there are many makeup artists as well." The queen turns to run, but she is held back. "Ko Kong Muon by Lam Du Choi Trong Te Nui Kok." But after the makeup is done, she finds it extremely satisfactory. But it doesn't last long, she soon feels unhappy again. She realizes that she has regained consciousness of her body. She also remembers the birthday of her maid. It deeply moves her. "But why I know how to play the zither?" The queen is very puzzled. She has never touched a zither before, but she plays it very skillfully. Many strange memories exist within her. Even the thoughts in her head are the voices of women. The queen is playing absent-mindedly. She is deeply lost in thought. How should I live? Will I become a real woman? Thinking about the one who harmed me, still out of the reach of the law. Her gaze turned icy cold. But she wondered how to prevent his birth. But who is he? At this moment, the king hears the news that the queen has regained consciousness. Immediately, he rushes out to find her. Spring is the season when love begins to blossom. "Don't underestimate me, I am a wild boar. You make me feel so embarrassed, I can't even bear it." The bouquet that was thrown out landed right where the king was. The king arrived quickly. Seeing the king holding flowers, the queen immediately felt shy. The king gave her the flowers, saying he found them. At this moment, her face flushed. The king quickly inquired with concern. She wanted to chase away these thoughts from her head. "Go away, go away." King was about to take back the bouquet, but queen wouldn't allow it. He thought she liked it, but the queen was displeased. At that moment, her father arrived. He heard King's arrival and quickly rushed out to greet him, inviting him inside. The queen said, "Please come in and make yourself comfortable. I'll return to the palace." Her father blamed himself for not being diligent enough, so the queen wanted to return to the palace. She must be feeling sad about her father, just like I do. Seeing her father looking desolate, Queen couldn't bear to stay at home for a day. Her father escorted her and the king to the same room. A day living together with the king. What happened? They fought, but everyone thought they were dancing. The queen thought they were dancing tango, so she unconsciously joined them in dancing. They fought fiercely, evenly matched in strength and skill. The queen wanted to participate, but the sword piercing through the paper door startled her. There was Intruder. The king pushed the intruder against the wall, intending to remove his mask. While the two were struggling, the door suddenly opened. The queen held a precious vase in her hand, ready to smash it onto the intruder's head. The intruder managed to dodge. Queen accidentally struck King's head. The guards arrived at this moment. Because wanted to conceal the incident, the king embraced her. He leaned in to kiss her. As soon as Dai Busier entered, he saw them kissing. The queen's father just woke up as well. Queen suddenly opened her eyes, regaining the initiative. Whether he is male or female, I must take the initiative. He pulled Dai Busier out, leaving the two of them alone for privacy. Perhaps he thought a bit too much. Dai Busier is confused by the sound of breaking. He is worried about the safety of the queen being threatened. At this moment, inside the room, two of them are entangled with each other. They still haven't finished kissing. The queen, deeply engrossed, suddenly stops, regaining consciousness. She saw the king was closing his eyes, waiting for her. But in the end, she ends up blaming herself. This is a battle between the body and the soul. I am the master of this body. King puts his hand over her mouth. You have not to say something. She lies in his hands, closing her eyes. Why are you in my dream? I'm so sorry. Finally she went to sleep. The king began to act, stealthily walking towards the warehouse. As soon as he closed the door, he was noticed. His purpose for coming here. His purpose was to find the evidence belonging to the Kim family. Sure enough, he found a chest and took out his tools to pry it open. The noise caught Daibu's attention, and he was about to draw his sword. The laughter in the room caught the king's attention. He assumed that the two people were affectionate with each other. He sadly left. Bye-bye, my queen. Queen was dreaming of attending a party with a beautiful girl. Hearing silence all around, King opens the chest and finds only paper inside. It's not there. It seems the evidence has been moved. He goes to the well. Intuition told that the evidence is down here. He lit a fire and looked down the well, seeing something odd. As he prepared to investigate, he heard someone approaching, quickly hiding. He watched two uncles discussing catching a demon. The king opened a trap and caught a mother hen, then released it outside. Seizing the chance, he trapped a hen and returned to his room. The queen, still sleeping wrong, awoke feeling as if she had slept very well, a rare occurrence for her. As she turned, she saw the king looking at her, wondering if something had happened after last night's drinking. She immediately sensed that he was acting. The queen understood the implication to pretend as if they had slept together. But the cluttered surroundings in the room confused the queen. They both pulled up their collars and washed their faces. Each of them had their own thoughts. Queen just wanted to quickly return to the palace. She wanted to a good relationship with the Empress Dowager. King wanted to investigate the identity of the intruder, and to find evidence in the chest. Today, I must return to the palace. Today, I must find the evidence. At this moment, the Empress Dowager doesn't feel like eating anything at all. The Prime Minister's entry was met with reproach. The Empress Dowager felt very bored in the palace. I miss this niece too much. The Prime Minister wonders why Queen's cooking is so delicious. In fact, it's because of genuine affection. And yet you said you were hungry this morning. So it turns out you woke up because you missed the Queen. It's a scary habit indeed. The people in the palace kitchen all busy, while the chef was missing the Queen. The absence of the Queen made this place feel empty. He laughed loudly because the Queen wasn't here. He still remained the boss. If the Queen returns, he will have no power left. Too peaceful, I am the best. He stepped out, then noticing Mama in the distance, he hurried back to strike up a conversation. Seeing her sadness, he thought Queen might not make it through. Turns out she was worried that she had caused trouble again. He comforted her while handing her a paper bag. It turned out to be a stick of dried beef. He said he found it on the road and then left. He gave it to me. Why? He's really strange. Why didn't he just throw it away himself? Is Queen coming back to the palace today or not? Queen wants to eat street food, but King looks down on it. Why do we have to eat this food? Half a second later, it's all eaten. The Queen knew how to make it as soon as she tasted it. He planned to make this dish when he returned to the palace. The people around them started to blame the king. They will come to the end of the road. King approaches the table with a wine bottle in hand. He says life has never been easy, then pours wine for them. She drinks and calms down. He seems to be from a prestigious family, doesn't he? I'm just a nobleman in disguise. Empty vessels make the most noise. Haha. The court is truly in disarray. Their mouths are going too far. The Queen heard and getting up hesitantly. You had to know where the line was. Do you really think being king is all fun? One wrong move and you could be poisoned or beheaded. It's tough. The commoners are really uneasy. The Queen told them she's a die-hard fan of the king. I'll flip this table now. The king quickly pulled the Queen away, feeling extremely warm inside. Then they strolled together, saw a vintage vendor. He felt it was really beautiful, but when he was about to buy it, he realized it was fake. After that, the queen ran to a betting booth and ran out of money. You shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry. Miss, please don't go. The Prime Minister is starting to study the Queen's milk dish. Again. What's wrong? The Prime Minister has used up all the cow's milk in the palace. Shut up. It's truly embarrassing. In the end, he was helpless. The Empress Dowager, ever since she ate the meal cooked by the Queen, she has lost interest in other food. She's extremely hungry. She ordered Queen to return to the palace. Returning, Queen was very pleased to hear that the Empress Dowager was very hungry. She immediately went to cook some food. Want to learn the Queen's cooking skills, didn't hesitate to set aside his dignity and sit by the fire. The fire shot out. It seems like your eyes are on fire. I'm just determined, that's all. I don't like your attitude. Let it go, no need to teach anymore. Is being a spirit blower enough? Next, she plans to make a street food dish. First, she boils the beef tendons, then adds French-style beef broth. Uses egg whites to remove the gamey smell from the beef. Egg whites? That's quite creative, isn't it? Is it okay like this? It looks great. But what do you need this for? A dish that can move souls. Just like that, a modern egg beater has been born. Next, the Queen arranges the green beans and meat on top, pouring in the beef broth. Finally, she adds a whisked egg white to garnish. A sophisticated meal is complete, but Empress Dowager shows a disdainful expression. How could I possibly eat such a lowly dish? But how can I withstand this grumbling stomach? She reluctantly takes a bite. The Queen wears traditional clothes. The first time wearing pants in her life is for men. And it's during her menstrual cycle. This slight pang of sadness makes one feel uneasy. He starts to doubt his true identity. The closing of the eyes is already spring. In this blooming season, suddenly, a marriage proposal appears. She agrees to marry me. Look at me like this, but I also have something. Oh my, I don't know. The flower fell into the Emperor's sedan chair. Is this fate? But the Queen also feels familiar, involuntarily bumping into the Emperor's nose. Hey there, good morning. What happened? If the seducer is going to touch me. Oh no, the seducer is going to crush me. Too dangerous. The Queen knows herself. It's hard to go back to the modern world. Better just roll over here and vent. After that, the Queen rushed to her father's golden cabinet, opening it. Oh, so meticulous. Turns out it's just a cigar wrapper. At the same time, the chief steward's eyes were gleaming with energy. How could a devil fly into the woods to get angry? Mama, mama. Damn it. Mama, mama. Unexpectedly, they met here, the Imperial Troy. The two stared at each other as if understanding each other's thoughts. T's really outrageous. It's just a fake. Damn it. Underestimating the chief steward like that. But unexpectedly, it provoked the Imperial Troy. When did the Imperial Court come? When she took out the kaleidoscope, she didn't expect to see the chief steward's figure inside. Why do I see his face in there? Mom, impossible. Can't be. Can't be. Can't be. On the other side, the Queen saw the food on the table. She felt extremely uneasy. When the Empress Dowager turned around, there was a grain of rice stuck on her mouth. The palace maid wanted to use her hand to remove it. The Queen saw the Empress Dowager looking so happy, so it was just a trick. Conveniently, she made a modern-style mask. This stuff is inedible. You should use it as a face mask. Since then, the Queen enjoying a luxurious life every day. The Queen, with the identity of this man, couldn't help but be thrilled. Every night, he dreamed like this, but every time it was most important, the figure of the Emperor appeared behind. I'm very satisfied. The Queen woke up. He was still in a daze. The butterfly came to hand but flew away. This is just a residual egg after waking up from the plant state, requiring acupuncture. Then he pulled out 3 needles as long as horns from her head. The Queen saw the needle immediately wake up, suddenly feeling better. The person who can cure without acupuncture is a divine doctor. The Queen suddenly remembered something, nearly forgot about arranging the selection of consorts for the king. He hastily organized a consort selection contest. The Queen shook hands with each girl one by one. Nice to meet you. Hi. Nice to meet you. As a man, he confidently selected concubines for the nation according to his preferences. The Yil family in Papillon, the Hong family in Namyang, and the Min family in Yuan. Truly the cream of the crop. The king was extremely satisfied. That night, the queen lay awake, unable to sleep. In his mind were the images of the concubines. Then he got up, or maybe he wrote letters to them to look at. The queen immediately rushed to the desk. She quickly wrote 3 letters to the concubines, but somehow, by some twist of fate, those heartfelt letters ended up in His Majesty's hands. Have you slept yet? Have you slept yet? Have you slept yet? It must imply something. 2 of them writing each other passionate letters. However, the next day, the queen reverted to her old self. Straight to the point, His Majesty ate the humble pie. What's going on? The king has understood somewhat the plight of the common people. So he wants to organize a party to provide a meal for the poor. The chief steward cried tears of emotion upon hearing the imperial decree. Praise be to the king's grace. At the same time, the queen was organizing a hunting competition. This hunting competition was extremely cruel. The participants were all the imperial concubines. All the concubines played the role of animals. The animal's name was written on it. The more daring the animal was, the higher the score. He won with the highest score would win. The whistle sounded, the competition officially began. However, the queen had no interest in this cruel game whatsoever. Just as she was resting, the queen spotted a eunuch. He pleaded, saying he was tired from running around. Why bother? After finishing, he eagerly ran back to the courtyard. Tired, so he ran back to drink water, right? The Tiger Commander's son is the highest scoring, and so, the queen easily won, receiving an extremely luxurious reward. Meanwhile, on the other side, the day for the party was approaching. Unexpectedly, due to poor storage by the servants, all the food in the warehouse had spoiled. The steward was extremely upset, but luckily, they discovered it early. But some played dirty tricks behind, secretly adding poisoned beans to the shared water. At this moment, the queen was extremely worried about the banquet. Rushing into the kitchen, she was shocked by the scene before her. Where's the chef? He was just here. Oh no, the queen was startled. This trip is considered done, so as not to embarrass His Majesty in front of everyone. What's up? The nameless spy asked, already poisoning. The king specially invited me to prepare today's feast. I came here to relieve his suffering. But with just a few ingredients, even the master chef level was at a loss. Soyeon thought every banquet at the palace would have a specific theme. Because it's not just a simple meal, it's a political gathering. So what should I cook? Just as she was contemplating, the imperial physician sitting next to her provided Soyeon with the answer. He took out a silver needle. This sparked an idea in the queen's mind. Soyeon remembered a modern dish. As the queen was about to put the needle into the boiling oil, it frightened the physician beside her. My precious silver needle, why would you put it in boiling oil? I'll wash it with salt water and then sterilize it for you. And so, a super delicious dish was completed. Although they solved the urgent problem, they lacked manpower now. So? Here, take it. Peel it. What about me? Who else? I heard you needed dental floss. I came to oversee the preparation of the banquet. Peel it nicely. Slice it as thinly as possible. In the other side, the high-ranking officials in the palace were all seated at the banquet table. Seeing the food in front of them, everyone was amazed. They made faces of ridicule. Is this the simple food of people? Am I the only one who doesn't know how to eat lately? The queen prepared the second dish. Stewed tomatoes. The most important step of this dish is kneading the dough. The chief horse trainer put all his effort into kneading and chilling the dough. What are you doing? You have to knead it as hard as I do. This is a very damaging action for the shoulders and wrists. You should knead harder. Very quickly, the stewed tomatoes dish was served on the table. The third dish was also the last dessert of the feast. Although the appearance looked a bit extravagant, however, it was just a normal jelly dessert. People recognized it at a glance. It didn't seem interesting. Luckily, soon after, the Empress Dowager won the lucky draw. Thanks to the tireless efforts of everyone, the feast went smoothly. Just as the chief steward was about to take a sip of water, suddenly, the palace chief eunuch rushed in. Oh dear, she must be very tired. Here, have some water to detoxify and relieve itching. Oh, what's wrong? What's wrong with you? Then in my stomach, there's a fierce wave. The music is pounding like in a bar. What's going on? The king was praying to the heavens, begging for mercy for people, hoping that the people can escape from the suffering of hunger. Just as His Majesty was moved to tears, the incense bowl suddenly glowed red. Then, he hugged and hugged, with a sad and regretful expression. He stuck 3 incense sticks, unable to light the candle, and burst into tears. Just as he was praying to the heavens, asking for more divine power, that way, he became the first king to participate in a long jump competition with a firecracker. To protect his life, everyone bowed down. The empress, even though cruel, escaped calmly, leaving him all alone, pitiful and helpless, passing out from the pain. Luckily, the royal physician's skills were high, and after applying bandages, the king recovered from the crisis. Upon returning to the royal court, the Empress Dowager caused quite a stir, questioning why do that. He denied involvement, claiming no connection to the matter. The Queen Dowager has also begun an investigation, but the results have only raised more suspicion, revealing no clues. Meanwhile, since His Majesty was targeted by anti-fan, even the Queen has been despondent, feeling as though a heavy weight is pressing down on her heart. At the same time, turmoil is brewing in court, with the nobles casting doubtful glances at General Kim, accusing him of being both evil and treacherous during the struggle for power. However, this palace drama is merely a ploy orchestrated by the king. Before the ceremonial, he had prepared explosives, intending to uncover the toppling of her family by secretly sending someone to buy pepper, seeing it as evidence to expose the Kim family's theft of national defense weapons, not only ordering the dismissal of the 2 noble titles but also demanding that the Empress Dowager cease her intervention in state affairs. From now on, he would decide national matters himself. If you don't wake up, I'll become useless. If I'm useless, I'll be a burden. If I'm a burden, I'll have to forget about seeking revenge. The king, wake up! Really? Yes, and there's more to discuss. His Majesty is still alive. The Queen is deeply moved, rushing to the kindness chamber to prepare a few cups. Please don't drink anymore. Open the door. Open it. Right now. At this moment, the king finds the menu for the banquet, feeling extremely surprised. It turns out that the person behind helping him is the queen. So, in the middle of the night, she rushes to the queen's chamber. But the queen is still asleep, her mind hazy. As it happened, the two had a passionate night together. After experiencing a night of passion, the queen finally wakes up. Hong Ryan. Hong Ryan. Where did you sleep last night? In my room. Did I really sleep with that person? It's over, I've been taken by life's drama. At this point, the queen is always in a melancholy state, just thinking about that night's exercise. But oh, sleeping with Trang Nemo is even more enjoyable. Why are you like this? But why do I find it cute now? Why? I should find it detestable. 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 Suddenly, the king rushes in. Where's the queen? She's on the other side, Your Majesty. Please forgive me, Your Majesty. She was just here a moment ago. Why do you keep avoiding me like this? While the queen suddenly becomes combative, she realizes that continuing like this is not the solution. But she thought she had experienced everything in life. Yet there's a whole world she didn't know about. What was the feeling last night? If the world I know is a soft loaf of bread, then this is just because it's new. Because it's new, I like it. Come to your senses. The empress, seeking revenge, bought dozens of palace maids, plotting to assassinate the queen. But the queen was unaware of any danger. Swiftly, she slipped poison into the queen's water while Soyeon was preparing to drink. After careful consideration, the queen decided to fight fire with fire, venturing into the underworld. I will make you regret it. Because you dared to plot against me. Afterwards, the queen began to meticulously prepare, sharpening her skills like a blade, adorning herself with precious jewelry, preparing for her revenge plan. The head chef, dressed in traditional attire, personally served a refreshing drink to the queen. Seeing this, her face darkened like a note tacked to his murder mystery. So, the reward of chewing on stones is still the sweetest. The next dish is fried rice. What a peculiar drawing! Oh my, the drawing is so beautifully done. The palace is dangerous, you are almost poisoned but you're still alive. In the second meal, the queen again approached the empress dowager, the exchange full of elegance. So Ehan presented a bouquet of incense. If you dare to touch a single hair of mine, don't expect to see your son's face again. Seeing the queen suddenly confrontational, the emperor couldn't help but be surprised. So it turns out I don't need to worry about the queen. It's the others who should be worried. The three of them continued to chat and finished setting up the gambling table. Hong Ryan inadvertently remembered the girl who had saved the queen. Thinking about it again, I haven't had a chance to say goodbye. 7 points, 8 points, mine is 9 points. Please forgive me. Damn it. House arrest. All out. It's past midnight. The queen remained restless and couldn't sleep, so Soyeon rushed to the king's chamber. Dear, calm down. Excessive wounded pride. I'll make the king understand her feelings. Soyeon immediately ran to the study room. She quickly made a bowl of instant noodles. Just as the emperor was engrossed in reading, a fragrant smell wafted over. What are instant noodles? And where do you want me to go? Don't feel pressured. This is just research, or you can call it an experiment. No, I shouldn't be doing this. But if I just try a bite. No, just one bite, and my fake confidence will crumble. What would a normal person do in this situation? Would they eat instant noodles or not? Do you have to explain what instant noodles are? First, I'll try. Yes, I need to try to know whether I was wrong, or if I was just confused, or if this is really my true feeling. After thinking this far, the queen didn't want to think anymore. She brought out the instant noodles. And so the two of them began their study together. Here is a person with sparkling makeup to go into the forest. Don't make the maid angry anymore. If she continues like this, it will be a big problem. Oh my, it's hard to find someone who can curse better than me. Let me give you this advice, if you take a breath from here. Oh my, I need to stir things up a bit. Yes, scold the wretched child to make me go crazy. Watch out, here I come. Oh heavens, you're too good. My dear queen is on the other side. It's feeling that sweetness on my tongue. She began to feel affectionate towards the king. Every time she saw the emperor, her heart would beat cha-cha-cha, and she felt extremely restless. So she returned home. Father, please help the king. Because of what happened last time, father regretted marrying his daughter there. Not only that, but also lost faith in the emperor. So he reluctantly made a very painful decision, launching a super discount program. Villagers flocked to submit warm applications. Could they demand twice as much from us in the future? He's really gone mad. Please, sir, stop. Greed for material wealth has become my habit. Seeing his precious treasure taken away, he couldn't bear the pain. Same time, after the queen had finished consulting her father, she prepared the next plan. General Kim So Yong. Though not long ago he was demoted by the king, but his reputation in the army still made people wary. Therefore, the queen specially prepared a sword, as a retirement gift for him. That has been his life from before until now. He once said, I am a woman, so even if I become the queen, I can't do anything. Just keep watching, and you'll see what I can do. From now on, I will live true to my character, because I have nothing left to lose. Each of the courtiers smirked, realizing this woman was not simple. She hosted a banquet for the great ministers. They were puzzled, showing their usual disdain, but she casually extended a finger, challenging them to a martial arts match. Then she boldly declared, in the future, whenever you oppose the king's opinions, remember, I will stand behind, ready to take action. One by one, if they don't want to see a scene where no one supports them, they better be careful. Oh, you have Kim in your name, so I want to change them. From now on, I am Yang So-yeon, not Kim So Yong. When the queen returns to the palace, seeing the serious demeanor of the king, she cannot help but extend her hand to help. She told him about the world hundreds of years later. Although the king found it a bit unreal, he was very happy to have the queen's support. His regal demeanor became increasingly apparent. First, he established authority, establishing the dignity of a nation, then secretly sent people, beginning to secretly arrest local officials. So it's shrimp. This dish is very precious. Who are you? Oh, this head is correct. They say there are many fake officials wandering around, causing unrest everywhere. Now the cards no longer have the same dignity as before. After seeing the two of them fighting fiercely, the high-ranking officials felt uneasy, and hastily convened a meeting on how to deal with the king. Then, the queen's brother-in-law came up with a plan if the king wanted a thorough investigation. So why not, before that happens, let's store the food and the missing vouchers back to their place, so it won't be noticed, right? The king didn't need to do anything, the national treasury automatically filled up as before. The queen was still not satisfied. To help this king turn the situation around, she began to act as his advisor. The first lesson is the constitutional monarchy system. The second lesson is physical training skills. Lift your legs. 1, 2, 3, 8. Start over, you need to kill me, then you'll be satisfied. The third lesson is knowledge of essential items. The gunpowder data sound okay. Put the gunpowder in the bag like this and throw it away. Bang, it will explode. At this point, the queen felt nauseous. She thought he was making noodles. Unexpectedly, he was making pear wine. Cover it and wait for 3 days, then drink. Of course not. At this point, you need to stir it again. Wait for 7,749 days to be able to drink it. Finally, the day has come. The queen took a sip immediately. As soon as she tasted it, she almost spit it out. She felt unwell, so she decided to wait until evening to drink again. Oh, me again, pear wine. I didn't mean to. Since earlier my stomach has been, seeing that the queen was not well, the king quickly called for a physician. It turned out that the queen was seriously ill. After a while of examination, he finally knelt down in front of the queen. Congratulations, Mama. Finally, I am a father. Upon hearing this, the queen's face was extremely blank. Who can save me? This life is over. In ancient times hundreds of years ago, pregnant women would all be like this. Sisters, learn from this. Women should not lean, lie on their hands, or tilt their necks. The shoulders should be kept straight. Laughing, jerking, fearing, screaming, crying, talking too much, all not allowed. Even the noodles being eaten were cut off. Women should not eat foods with strange flavors. The queen immediately sat down, deciding to abort. When it's not natural, it's even more painful than being a prisoner. The queen was extremely distressed, looking for the pear wine. However, after opening it, she found that the cork was missing. It turned out that the palace was so cunningly afraid that she would drink it all, so they destroyed it. Looking at the smug and foolish eyes of the palace, the queen was furious, shouting, "Give me back my pear wine. They've just finished my pear blossom wine." The king noticed that the queen didn't look happy, so he invited you for a horse ride to relax. So, ignoring the eunuch's orders from behind the palace, you both climbed onto the horse. Swiftly rode to a forest. Just when you were having a good time chatting, His Majesty reminded you to take care of your health, because our future son will inherit the country. Upon hearing this, you suddenly had a thought. Enough of this, let's go back to the palace. You immediately headed back, deciding to return to the palace for the sake of your pregnancy. But someone always felt bitter about that. So, she found a palace maid and spread malicious rumors. Did you hear? The king and the queen sleep together is fake news. Yes, not the king's son. Then whose child is it? Aunt, have you seen whose pregnancy it is? They're getting out of hand. The queen is not one to trifle with. In order to express her feelings, she put on an exaggerated show in front of the palace servants. What are you doing? These servants have crossed the line, but as the saying goes, a good deed never goes unpunished. News travels fast and soon reached the ears of the court officials. They added fuel to the fire to make it more stimulating. Adding the Grand Queen Mother, sitting in front of the king and queen consort, further fueled the flames. So, she went to find the queen consort's foster brother, Kim Jung-hyun, wanting him to personally kill the queen. Jung-hyun didn't know what to do. So, he come to meet the king and told him about the queen consort's plan. If he wanted to save the queen consort, he had to personally suppress the rebels. With that, they could save the queen consort. His Majesty didn't hesitate anymore, rushing to inform the queen consort that he would set out for battle. He changed into battle attire. He knew that this was the queen consort's plot, but he still boldly set out. Choosing the path of no return, just as the queen consort predicted, didn't take long before trouble arose. The accompanying swords began to attack Kim, aiming directly at His Majesty, just a few days ago, devouring his loyal subjects at the blink of an eye. Being pursued by the guards, His Majesty fled desperately to the dead end, not hesitating to jump straight down the cliff, disappearing amidst the serene landscape. While the queen was wearing this ancient costume, she ate a few meals to alleviate her anxiety about the king's absence. By nightfall, she began to dwell on negative thoughts. It was at this moment that the queen first felt her child kicking in her womb. Was it too early for that? Could the child be a genius? Oh my child is a genius. To relieve her inner turmoil, the queen decided to play a guessing game with the court ladies. King. At this moment, the queen's mind was filled only with images of the king. But then, the king had passed away. The queen felt as if she had been struck by lightning. Shortly after, news of Your Majesty's demise spread throughout the palace, but the queen refused to believe it was true. She noticed some discrepancies with the king's body. So, the queen returned to the palace and began contemplating the entire plot. If a fake body had to be used, then things didn't go according to plan. Therefore, someone must have imprisoned those who could bring him back. The two women cried hysterically, making it impossible for Ian to concentrate. So, she told them that Your Majesty was still alive. I understand. Although he has passed away, he still lives on in your heart. I have thoroughly examined the entire body from head to toe. It's not him. The entire body. I won't go into details. The two women were shocked beyond belief. It turns out the king was still alive, and to avoid detection by others, she pretended to be grieving in front of everyone. Why did you leave so quickly? What about our child? By nightfall, the queen took out the prepared bag, followed the palace's secret path, and secretly left to find him. Thinking that the plan was flawless, but unexpectedly, what are they doing here? They were too careless. Note thought they wanted her to come along. If she didn't see Her Majesty, she would worry to death. Seeing this scene, the queen's jaw dropped in disbelief. Meanwhile, in the royal court, taking advantage of Your Majesty's absence, the Queen Dowager boldly took the position of the king and ordered the ministers. Not only that, she also instructed someone to write a letter announcing to the world that the king had passed away. At the same time, the three of them ventured deep into the forest. Realizing the extremely dangerous situation, the queen pushed the Queen Dowager to go ahead, disregarding life and death to fight the guards. At the most critical moment, she used her own body to prove her loyalty to the queen. After escorting the queen to safety, Jang Hyun also disguised herself as the queen to distract the guards. The queen ran off, mimicking the king's movements from before. The royal guards approached. Debussy drew his sword, standing before the queen. After the fierce battle just now, he was severely injured. As he was about to depart, Mua Loi handed over a public document listing the traitors to the queen, hoping the queen could use this to save herself. He fought fiercely until his last breath to protect her. Both sides then revealed hidden weapons. At the end of the battle, Debussy asked a question like this: "Who sent you?" Just as the queen was despondent over losing hope, a familiar figure suddenly appeared. Seeing the king, So Yun burst into tears like a child. It turned out the king wasn't dead but had been hiding in the philosopher's house, very close. The queen met with the philosopher and Hong Ryan, seeing both safe and sound. The queen was overjoyed to be reunited, while the prime minister worried about Hong Ryan, who seemed distressed every day. Finally, he decided to resign from his position to go up the mountain to find Hong Ryan, but before he got far, he was captured by the mountain people, preparing to cook him. Suddenly, a loud voice exclaimed, "How did you get here?" The palace guard. Hong Ryan, Hong Ryan, Hong Ryan, the palace guard. Why are you here? Hong Ryan was overly excited and tripped over, snapping the rope instantly. Then, everyone began to ponder how to infiltrate the palace, because the king and queen were greedy, regardless of what happened. There was always a door in the palace for transporting food. After analyzing the plan meticulously, everyone resolved to enter the palace. On the way, the queen saw the body Debussy, so to repay his life-saving grace, the two of them chose to hide Debussy in the mountains. Next, they intercepted a food cart, and the queen and the king hid underneath. In this cramped and dark space, they recalled the instant noodle scene. A bomb landed on the ground, and this brave soldier didn't hesitate to grab it, but it turned out to be a smoke bomb that didn't explode. Then, smoke bombs were thrown straight into the palace, with Hong Ryan aiming directly at the target. The woman successfully threw one towards the southern gate, while the prime minister shed more blood on this side, only to see him using two knives to stab left and right, and in an instant, the north gate of the wall was breached. They safely returned to the palace. Finding the king still alive, the prime minister was scared out of his wits. "You're coming to the palace with me, let's go." "Don't panic, the king, please rest." Due to the urgent situation, the two quickly changed into their attire, took decisive steps toward the palace, and began accounting for each person. At the same time, the fan club of the king began to rise, the scent of fresh blood wafting. Over here, the queen mother feared that something unfortunate might happen, so she hastened the coronation. Little did she know, as the chief minister prepared to present the jewel, she found only a mixture of potassium nitrate and inert gas inside. It turned out that before they set out, the queen had entrusted an acquaintance to replace the jewel, but due to an oversight, the acquaintance had taken the jewel to Lao's house, seeking advice on how to handle it. He jewel mixer intended to hide it somewhere, defying the village's prohibition. "Why would I be going to jail for it now?" The couple returned to the imperial palace. They entered together. The queen noticed a suspicious figure lurking behind the roof. She turned abruptly. "I'm fine." The noise was so loud that I startled. "I'm not hurt at all." So Ian. As the king was helping the queen up, he suddenly collapsed. Fortunately, the queen's bulletproof vest was as sturdy. Upon waking up, the king was furious. He swiped away Prime Minister Kim Jung Hyun's hat, leaving him to contemplate his sins. In the end, the queen was severely injured but saved by the royal physician, and the empress she was arrested and imprisoned indefinitely. The royal garden was also charged with spreading false rumors and punished accordingly. Not only were their assets confiscated, but they were also exiled to Bin Kwang, never to return. The bloodthirsty warrior returned to his study room to continue his instant noodle research. When the king wished to rush back to help, the two drew closer. As for what happened next, I think everyone knows. And the head chef, Bong Hong, returned to the modern world after the queen was injured, though he had some lingering affection for the king. If they were steadfast in each province, during this miraculous time, it also helped him change a lot. Experiencing being a woman for the first time, he felt quite content. After Bong Hong left, the soul of that girl returned to the queen's body. Perhaps because that man had been in this body for too long, although the soul had returned for a while, it still felt a bit strange. Damn it, after dealing with the palace affairs, she only remembered the king now. And the king, being the considerate person he is, they alternated shifts, day and night. Finally, at the lakeside, they met each other. Finally met. We've missed each other too many times, those fleeting moments, like 1,000 autumns. But the king always felt like something was off, a bit strange. In the end, does he like the current queen, or that chef, Bong Hong? Alright, the movie ends here. Please take 3 seconds to subscribe to our channel to support us. Thank you for watching our channel. See you all in the next movie. Today's episode ends here. Thank you for watching. Now it's time to say goodbye and see you again.